So, hello. Well, today I'd like to take a look at this, which is a market town called Berkhamsted. It's an illustrated history by a chap called Scott Hasty, I think you'd pronounce that, or Hasty, I don't really know, to be honest with you. But it's quite an interesting one, this. There he is, anyway, that's the chap. He's the author of the book, obviously. This is actually from Lady Mary Solmes's library. Can you believe this? I can't. It's bizarre, isn't it? How I get these things. What do you think? I mean, but it says this was presented to her from the children and staff of Berkhamsted Collegiate Preparatory School to mark the official opening of the school by Lady Solmes, Dame of the British Empire, that's DBE, on the 15th of October 1999. Well, funnily enough, I went to Berkhamsted School. It's a long story, but to cut it short, my father, when he was a lad, was taken to a public school by his father, who was effectively a manager of bachelor's peas at the time. And my grandfather said to my father, "Would you like to go to this school?" And my dad said, "Oh yes, please, Dad. It looks great," you know, sort of thing. And then later, it was decided that he couldn't go. And of course, it was found out years later that the reason being was because my grandfather couldn't afford it. You know, he couldn't afford the fees, poor sod. Didn't have the money. So it was my father's mission in life to give his son elocution lessons, which is why I sound like a twat, and a public school education, which, to be honest with you, was completely bloody wasted on me because I couldn't stand the thing, and I couldn't wait to get away. And although I did sort of a year's service, as in the servile service in the passport office, Home Office department, I couldn't wait to get on the scaffold and earn my keep as a roofer. But there you go, that's another story. But so this is the Berkhamsted Castle. It's a classic sort of Motte and Bailey castle. It's actually owned by King Charles, believe it or not, the third. He owns it. It's his. These are the fills of the walls that you see today are the fill. The original stones would have been robbed and taken away. And talking of kings, there's the Prince of Wales, as he was then, King George VI, I think you know him as, in 1935. So it's owned by the Prince of Wales, basically, the castle. Well, so probably Charles's son probably owns it now. You know, the eldest one, whose name eludes me for the time. But Berkhamsted's a lovely place. It's a lovely town. I spent my formative school years there, as it were. That was the old courthouse. And although I came from Watford, I used to train in from Watford. It was quite a procession, in actual fact. It took a while, 40 minutes to get there. Sort of, my old mum used to clean my ears, you know, and then off I used to go, sort of thing. But that's the Hockridge Woods in Ashley Green, where this is the old coach. This is the old coaching road that used to go, and there's a canal there, the Grand Union, obviously. So it's of great interest, of course. Historically, the Duke of Bridgewater built the canals system, and there was a monument to him up in Ashridge, and it was a long, tall, thin thing with a knob at the end, and as kids used to call it, the Duke's prick, you know. But when they went through the bridges, they used to have to do a thing called legging. They used to lie on planks. The horse went over the top, sort of thing, and the men used to leg along the canal bridges, and you can actually see where they've worn a groove in the darn bricks where they used to do so much legging. Yeah, Berkhamsted very very famous for sheep, but not always in a good way. They were tested. They used to use the darn creatures, poor sods, as victims for the Wellcome Foundation, which was a chemical testing ground. It's long gone now, thankfully. But no, there's references to Watford. You see, the Watford Brewery. In fact, I remember teasing a friend of mine called Tim, who we had Benskin's Bitter in Berkhamsted, where I went to school. As I say, we used to nip down the pub. I was always more mature looking than I should have been, so I had a sort of beard line when I was about 14, you know, and so I used to be able to get into pubs, which was quite handy. And we teased there's a pheasantry there. But we teased Tim. He said, well, how have you got Benskin's bitter? It's from Watford. We said, well, they've got pipes running down, haven't they? But see, there's Cooper's dip. Cooper was one of the sheep people. Okay. So I suppose, bearing in mind the length of the... there's the Duke's prick. There it is. My goodness. There it is. So he was, effectively, that was his house, the Ashridge Management College, where my father used to work as a management trainee. He used to train managers, And so this was the old Duke of Bridgewater's property, and that was the monument, the Bridgewater Monument to him. As I say, excuse me, got wind. He built, certainly built the Grand Union Canal. I don't know if he ever built any more other than that, but he there's Ashley's Hall, long gone, I'm afraid. Half of these places have long been burnt down or destroyed or just taken away or whatever they did with them. What they were up to, I have no idea. Rear view of Amersfoort. Oh my God. Amersfoort, that was owned by a diamond merchant, and my friend Chris used to live there. He had one floor of it with his family. His father had died, unfortunately, but his mum was a physiotherapist, a lovely lady. Chris used to live in there, on the ground floor. Chris, my dear friend, he's long gone now, unfortunately. He died because he had a terrible motorcycle accident, and it really buggered him. In fact, his was worse than mine. I had one as well, just to try and keep up with him, I had a terrible motorcycle accident as well. But no, this is a school now, Amersfoort. But so Chris died, and he was buried at West Ham United. His ashes were scattered at West Ham United. Unfortunately, that's now been built over. They've changed the ground now. It's been moved, and so he's under a block of bloody flats. Can you believe it? But there's Kings Hill. All these old properties, they're Victorian entities. I'm afraid they've long gone. Millfield. I think Millfield is a school, mind you now. I think that's a school. Egerton House. Well, I went to Egerton School when I was a very young kid. Although that's gone, I think. Egerton House is gone. It's shifted in. That's still there, the town hall in Berkhamsted. I remember having a fight outside of that town hall once with some young lad who was convinced that I was, against him, and I said, look, relax, chillax, sort of thing, In the end, it came to blows, and there we were punching each other. Bloody hell, literally. That's still there. The water tower that's up in Shooters Way, it's called Shooters Way Lane, a very posh part of Berkhamsted. And there's an advert for the Electric Light Company. And that's some sort of meeting the district council. Berkhamsted now is predominantly sort of middle class, bourgeois dormitory for people, to put it rudely. The affluent rich, I doubt you'd get any property there for less than $500,000 sort of thing, including the flats. But I personally wouldn't want to live there if you paid me. But I'm not interested in that sort of an environment. But obviously people are, people like it. They like it a lot, innit? And there's the town hall. I don't wish to come across as a snob, by the way, because I'm not that at all. To be honest with you, I'm working class fella, me. Although I sound like a twat, as I say, I that's not my fault. My dad insisted I had elocution lessons because our family were from the north, and he had a very strong Geordie accent, and it didn't bode well with his work per se. The musicality of it. You see, this Holidays Cycle Shop eventually became a motorcycle outlet, and it's where I bought my first motorbike on Ravens Lane. Oof. I went back to buy it from them. It was owned by a speedway racer. I can't remember the name of the bloke now off the top of my head, but he sold me a Kawasaki Z250, which was one of the first, well, not the first bike, but one of the first motorcycles that I ever had, and I took it back to London with me. I rode it to London, which was interesting. And the bloody gear shift fell off it, and that was another interesting element of life, because I had to go to this sort of try and crash it through the gear, riding it in second gear. And went to this bloke who had a pair of big strong pliers, and ultimately got it into first gear so I could get it home. Another story. So in Berkhamsted, they had a world record. Effectively, what was going on was they had 3 pubs: the Swan, the Crown, and the King's Arms, and they were all within literally. Well, the Swan and the Crown were right next to each other, and then there was one building, and then the King's Arms was the other pub. So it was in the Guinness Book of Records. You know, the 3 closest pubs. Ironically, the Swan is now a sort of rehab place for alcoholics or something. So it's not even a pub, it's just some sort of pisshead's recovery unit, you know. Perhaps I should get perhaps I should enrol, but no, it's all interesting, all good stuff. Oh, good baby. Yeah, nurseries, things like that. That's all gone now. That eventually became Eastern Sons, and then John Lenanton. I used to work down there at John Lenanton's when I was a kid. He used to sort of do weekend work, you know, and so there you go. There's all the old Austin service places. All the Gossam's End, all very familiar names and places. So anyway, when I went to school, right? So one of my headmasters, which was one of the headmasters in the Grand Hall. It was called the Great Hall. There were all the portraits of the headmasters, and I remember this chap, the T.C. Fry, Mr. Fry, and he had a house named after him. We had houses because we were sort of posh public school, gimpy sort of thing. We had all the houses. I was in Hawkes, and then eventually in Swift's house. And obviously this was a prize given a very, very long time ago, in 1904, so long before I was sort of around and about. But for mathematics, Christ, I could never have won a prize for mathematics. I'm absolutely bloody useless. Baker. So we called each other by surname. So there's the prize, Baker. Baker's prize in 1906. It's a little booklet about ancient history, which is interesting. It's got a little map in there. Isn't that lovely? I bought this off the internet years ago. It's published in 1895. Can you believe that? So there it is. I have a book. Well, it's got this very, very old. You can see it goes into the paper, into the edging. It's lovely. The leather bound, obviously, as leather as it gets. You know, that's solid leather binding. Lovely gift. What a treasure to have. You know. Early Rome. Early Rome, and that's the school crest, isn't it, mate? That's the school crest that I used to be part and parcel of. That's the St. Peter's Church. A friend of mine got married there. I was his best man. You can see in those days that there were sheep roaming about. I mean, when obviously we got married, he got married, there weren't sheep on the street, sort of. But that's the interior. Very nice church, in actual fact, and I hope he's still happy married. I haven't had any touch with him for years. There's the Chapel Street. So that's demolished, was it? Okay, all right, fair enough, whatever. But trying to sort of find pictures of my school. There's some churches that were there. Church army. A lot of things going on church-wise, I suppose. So this is Ashlin's school. That's not the one I went to, but it's a very famous school. In fact, if you can go there now, you're lucky. You're a lucky chap or girl, because you know it's nowadays the collegiate school is that was the Berkhamsted School for girls. In my day, the boys' school was a boys' school and the girls' school was a girls' school. But now they're mixed. They're a mixed bag. And I went out with a girl from the girls' school. I thought she was lovely. She was absolutely beautiful. Really loved her. She was the daughter of an army officer, so obviously as the army moved around, she cleared off. That's my school. You see, this is where I went, but obviously not at the same time as these lads. That was 1929, wasn't it? So there you go. There's a policeman there. PC Andrew Cook, Sergeant David Dumbleton, and PC Jeffrey Ellis at the rear of Berkhamsted Police Station. Okay, well, I've been in there a couple of times, against my will, obviously. Sort of, you know, drunk and disorderly, Nick. You're fucking Nick, me old beauty. So they obviously had a fire at Gossam's End. That wasn't so good. A friend of mine was in the fire brigade in Berkhamsted, actually. A very brave chap. He risked his life many times to save others. So there's the sort of First World War, looks like it. yeah, trouble is with these videos, I get carried away and bloody things roll on and on and on and on, don't they? And that's the end of that. But that's the swimming pool, okay? I remember that. It's long gone now. It was freezing, effing cold swimming pool and tennis club. Very middle class, I know, but we used to go down there and freeze our nuts off. In fact, oh, I think, oh, there's Richard Maybe. Look, he wrote the famous book Food for Free. His sister used to teach me as a kindergarten nurse, and she was lovely. She was the sweetest little person I've ever met. Berkhamsted, it was with a P. It's not actually got a P in it, but they somehow stick it in there for some reason. I don't know why. That's my school. That was where I walked down sort of from the train station every day. So there you go. You know, it's memories, all the memories, all the rest of it. But there you go. Oh, so Graham Greene was a famous author. Didn't he wrote Brighton Rock or something like that? I can't remember now. But he hated the school almost as much as I did. I couldn't stand the place. My poor old dad, you know, all that money wasted. There's the Duke's prick and all the kids, you know, obviously in 1910, sat around it, and it's like we've seen out the railway children, isn't it? Anyway, I don't want these videos to crack on any longer than 17 minutes, so I'll cut my losses now, if I may, and bid you good day. Thanks ever so much for watching. I fully appreciate it if you've got this far. Anyway, all the very best. I'll leave you on Jimmy. Thanks ever so much. Cheers. Ta for now.